that Judge Vargas made. That's what they're saying here essentially. So they're saying that, she took some things into context that were not in the complaint, specifically some of the lyrics that Drake used. She didn't get the context of the whole argument, and she can't or she shouldn't be the person who is able to be the judge and the jury in this situation. So I think they're essentially pushing for a jury trial. Now, before this, about 2 weeks ago, I think this might have been January 8th, UMG's team sat down with Drake's legal team and they had some discussions or some sort of mediation. And what we can tell you 100% is that there was no deal on the table. There was no settlement that both sides agreed on. So that is why this appeal went through. So there's no new information to report here. It's just the appeal process. Now, there will be some updates that will likely happen in March and June as these things begin to progress. But this is a long-standing thing. This will not be settled or dealt with quickly. This will take time. So that's what we can factually say. Now, what I want to say is, who cares? Like, who really cares? And I say this because I think when people look at this whole topic, they look at this from like a one-dimensional level when this is a complex issue. People are thinking about this too personally, when I think this is more of a business thing than it is a personal thing. Number one, it's business because Drake feels his contract was affected by the actions that his label took. And number two, I can imagine the legal fees that Drake has accrued in doing this, likely upwards of $1 million. They spent hundreds of thousands trying to locate one person. So I know they've likely spent $1 million. So from a business perspective, if you put $1 million into something, do you just walk away and say, "Oh, well, the public doesn't like what I'm doing, I'm just going to drop it," or do you continue to pursue in the hopes that number one, you receive some compensation for what you're alleging, or two, you find a way out of a contract, or three, you make label executives suffer who you feel wronged you. I mean, at this point, he has nothing to lose, so I don't see walking away from it. And my final thing that maybe you want to answer, because I have gone on social media platforms for the people who are so against this, who say that Drake is threatening and he's damaging hip hop. What are the ramifications that you feel? And this is not to you, you feel free to answer, or people in the comments. What are the ramifications if Drake is successful in this lawsuit? If it gets settled, or if it goes to a jury and he, wins, what are the ramifications on hip hop? What are the
Uh,
negative ones? I don't get that, because right after this lawsuit was filed, you had a big battle between Joey Badass and some West Coast artists. You had Nicki and Cardi going back and forth. You had JT and Cardi going back and forth, and they said some of the most heinous, vile things to each other. So that didn't stop any rap battles. That didn't stop any of the language. So what is going to change about hip hop is if Drake is successful? People have to tell me, because I'm lost.
I don't think anything changes about hip hop in the long term, but I do believe no matter how it ends up, it's not a win for Drake. Because I'm thinking if Drake loses, it's gonna be a bad look. If Drake wins, people are still gonna say the same thing. Like, yeah, you won a lawsuit that a lot of people claim isn't hip hop. So it's just gonna look bad either way. So I mean, I feel you when you say, you've gone this far, why not just keep going? My personal take is I think he's just using this as a part of his rollout. I honestly think he's just using this because as soon as even something as simple as an appeal shows up, it's in all the headlines. He kills two birds with one stone. I think he's using it for his rollout, and that's why we're hearing about it again.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with someone online about this, and they said that same thing, that the rollout is dependent on the outcome of the lawsuit. I can't buy into that. I don't buy that at all. You have a known outcome that you're going to release an album. Why would you hitch that to an unknown outcome of a lawsuit where you don't know a timetable, you don't know an outcome, you have a desired outcome, but there's no way to know what's gonna happen. And again, I think people are thinking about this too simply, right? Like, if you've ever sued somebody, or if you've ever been sued, or you've been in any sort of legal proceeding, likely it's not boots on ground for you. You're not doing the work. You submit what you have, you meet with your legal team, you tell them this is what I want to pursue, and they give you the legal advice. Drake has not said one word about this. Even in the Iceman episodes, he's alluding to things, but everything he's alluding to is pre-battle, not a lawsuit that happened post battle. So I think people are just thinking way too much into it if you're trying to connect his rollout to to this lawsuit. It's two completely separate things. He can't speak on it, obviously. That would be silly, and I'm sure his lawyers have urged him to never do that. So I think, it's simply business, and people need to learn to look at it that way. And I know whenever you talk about art and you talk about money and you talk about business, people don't want to mix those three things. But unfortunately, welcome to capitalism, welcome to America, and welcome to 2026. There is no separation of the three.
Yeah. If you say so, we'll see. I want to see how it plays out in terms of his album coming out and, how this whole lawsuit plays out in tandem. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, look, the whole thing. I don't have any personal like. I don't care if he wins or loses. Doesn't affect my life, and I don't. I likely wouldn't have went to even the legal route in this. But again, I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I can only read what was in the paperwork, and if he truly believes his own executives conspired against him, then you're playing at a $1 billion level. That's how wars are fought at that level. Did I
Yeah.
go into the street and shooting a fair one? Give me 5 minutes. They go into the courtroom and I'm gonna go get mine. So
Yeah.
that's just welcome to the world, man. But that's
That's
it. I don't
true.
want to talk about Drake's lawsuit anymore. I'm done. I'm actually gonna do a video on this, but after I do my video on it, I'm done.
All right, bet.